Yeah, trendsetter, whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center, hit it dead center. Bullseye, hit it the most, is no misses. Something like fish in a barrel, it's no different. Blindfold on me, I still got the most vision. Trendsetter.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Carnivore Evolution. I'm Victoria Olson and Mark Ennis here with us. We're your hosts and our guest today. We're very pleased to have Carnivore Amy, who has been a strong influence in the carnivore community and has an organization to help people. We'd like to say hello and welcome Carnivore Amy.
Thank you. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed getting to know you. You're kind of an interesting duo together. You really complement each other well. Because I think Mark is a little feisty and you're very methodical, sciencey,
Yeah.
Victoria.
You haven't seen my feisty side.
Yeah, did you just want me to tell you my story?
Oh, we'd love to hear it. We know that you have reverse kidney disease with the carnivore diet personally, and we'd like to hear about your evolution on the diet.
Yeah, I would like to start off, Amy. First of all, what got you into the fitness space? Like before you did carnivore, like what was life like for Amy, say 15 years ago? Let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning before you actually came into carnivore.
Fitness wise and in general, so let's see, 15 years ago. So I'm 52. Wow, that's quite a while ago. At that time I was having babies. And I basically, looking back, I've always struggled a little bit with my weight. Not so much so until I got into college, and I struggled. I want to say addiction in general, because at that time, this is kind of an interesting story. When I was in college, I discovered that, I'd get such anxiety before a test or a big assignment or something like that. And I discovered that if I had a little shot of bourbon before I had to do some big study session, and I discovered it on the fly one night when I was having to read a book on Gandhi for a test the next day, and I hadn't started the book. And I was in my apartment by myself, and there was a small bottle of bourbon in my apartment that I had never touched. And I was old enough to drink and everything. But anyway, I thought, I can't get myself calmed down. Just this huge anxiety. Kind of like the anxiety you get before you give an interview. But, I just calmed myself down. I couldn't do it. I was talking to myself. I was like, I gotta read this book. I need to get a good grade on this test. So I took a shot of the bourbon, and because I had such a what do you call it? A light tolerance, like a very low tolerance for alcohol. It immediately relaxed me. I mean, I was pretty much drunk. I read the whole book. I enjoyed it. I aced the test the next day. Unfortunately, that reinforced that technique as something very handy. And for the next couple years, every time I had to, finals week, 7 a.m., shot of bourbon, go take my final. And then, so that was in college, and I really see that as a marked, a moment in time that I can identify as something that I have replaced that shot of bourbon with many things. And so fast forward, I was in the working world. I've always been kind of a workaholic. And I started to get so much anxiety about my job. I'd have a little shot of bourbon on my way to work. Well, That eventually turned into then another shot of bourbon later on before a meeting. And here I was off to the races within, it was about, I would say, 2 to 3 years until my habits turned into full-blown alcoholism. I had switched to vodka. I had bags of empty plastic vodka bottles that I would have to get rid of. And nobody knew, not one person. I didn't drink socially. I was actually afraid to drink socially because I didn't know, what that would be like. I drank more like an intravenous drip, so just a little bit all day, and then at night I would knock myself out with it. In the end, I was in my bathroom and I had my glass of vodka there on the counter, and I thought to myself, I don't want to live this way anymore. And by that time, I was waking up in the middle of the night just so I wouldn't shake. And so I looked at the vodka and I looked at myself in the mirror. I was doing really well in my job, honestly. I looked sharp. I was slender. I wasn't eating a lot. I was drinking. And anyway, I just said, I don't want to live this way anymore. And I just hit my knees and I asked God to help me take this away. And I ended up joining AA. I went to 3 meetings a day for a long time. I had withdrawal symptoms. It was rough. It was rough. Little did I know that that's just kind of symbolic, or the alcohol was just a tool, and I found other tools as I got older. And so 15 years ago, by the time I got to that space, I was sober. I'm sober. So I got sober in 2003, and I got married in 2004, and then started having babies. And I had always lifted weights because I lifted weights in high school. I was on the powerlift team, and I worked for a bodybuilding company for a while here in Colorado. And so I've always enjoyed lifting weights. I had my babies. I got fat, skinny, fat, skinny, fat, skinny. And I was always really dedicated, like, to my family, to my role. My ex-husband was a stay-at-home dad. So it was my role to make the money, pay the mortgage and all that. Lots of stress, right? You guys know, raising a family, paying bills, not flipping out, all that's stressful. And so eventually I started turning to sugar. So I would sit here at this desk. I'd work as many hours as I possibly could, and I would just start supplementing with sugar all day. And it got me through the day. It got my work done. It helped me excel at work. And then once in a while I'd flip over. I did paleo diet about 12 years ago. Loved that. Still ate sugar, but I was training hard and I was eating a lot of meat. So I wasn't eating as much sugar. And everything was fine in my mind. Maybe I was fat and then I wasn't fat. I mean, I didn't think too much about it. Then I noticed one day that my hairline was thinning, and don't be disturbed. I'm gonna take my hat off. And I had no hair, like right here on both sides, and I had like all these fuzzy places on the top of my head, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening, right? Because nothing's gonna bring you to find what your root cause is faster than vanity. So I knew that my boss had had gone to the doctor when she started losing hair, and they put her on iron. So in my mind, I was like, I was like, okay, probably I have an iron deficiency. And then I was like, oh, this new cream I bought looks like some people have lost hair from it. Must be that. Into the trash. I go to the doctor, I get my blood work done, and I was metabolically, I was probably like, I'm 5'3", I was probably like 175 at that time, around there, which is heavy for me. And I got my blood work done, went to my appointment, and the doctor said, Amy, you have the blood work of a 90-year-old woman.
Oh my gosh.
What's going on with you? And so, and at that time, I mean, I was really struggling with allergies, and I still do. And she had even said to me, why don't you just double up on your allergy medication? Which I didn't. But I was already taking regular allergy medicine in the morning, and then at night I was taking some Benadryl. And if during the day I had trouble, I would take some Benadryl, which I now know is really bad for your kidneys. So she says this to me. She talks to me about my kidneys. At that point, I was already in stage 3B. I was in stage 3A kidney disease. And then it worsened. I got my blood work done every 3 weeks. It worsened slightly. And she basically was trying to figure out how this happened. Well, I was too. But she wasn't giving me any answers. She was waiting for the point at which I had to start dialysis in stage 4.
Really?
And I
Oh,
started feeling the effects. So I felt hazy. I felt tired in my body. My work started to suffer a little bit because I couldn't think in a very detailed fashion. And I would walk my dog, and my kids would come with me because I didn't know if I was going to fall down. I developed a gait, so like it kind of drug one foot behind me. And I also had some other things going on, cardiophrenic fat pad around my heart. I had a very high platelet count. And I didn't have high triglycerides, ironically, but they were still up there, but they weren't in the danger zone yet. And at that point, I had to have kind of a talk with myself, because looking back over my life, escaping anxiety or stress or obsession, I'd always picked something to escape with. Often I've never just, even now, it's difficult to just say, oh, I'm happy, relax into it. And so I had to really have a talk with myself and say, do you want to live for your kids? Do you want to be here for your kids? Do you want to be here for your parents and as they age? Do you want to practically be, somebody that everyone has to take care of when you're in your older years? What do you want here? And I admit, when I asked myself that question, it wasn't obvious to me. I didn't be like, woohoo, yeah, I want to live. Let's go. It was more like, okay, I really do want to see my kids and my grandkids grow up. I really don't want to have someone take me to the bathroom. And so I decided to live. And that's when I started researching. I had already known about carnivore diet because when I did paleo, Amber O'Hearn, whom I consider the mother of carnivore diet, she would come into this group called Paleo Hacks, where it was just a forum. It was before we had all this other stuff. And she would talk about just eating meat, and people would pretty much laugh at her and be like, just eating meat, like, that's crazy. And she would talk about it. I never forgot it. She kind of was a mysterious figure to me. I love mysterious women. I always wanted to be a mysterious woman. So I always noticed her. And I was online. I was researching kind of alternative ways to combat kidney disease. And I found a few people saying some weird stuff. And they were saying, the one guy, he was like, I ate ribeyes and I healed my kidneys. And I was like, eat ribeyes and healed your kidneys. And then I came across people like Cole Robinson. I joined Dr. Jason Fung's private group where I learned about fasting. And I had actually never fasted before. And he's a kidney doctor, so I paid special attention to it. And then I thought, well, I'm going to try some of these things. So I bought some ribeyes and I cooked them, and they tasted terrible. I didn't know how to cook them well, but I ate them because I had made my decision. I knew my why. I wanted to live, but I was miserable, absolutely miserable. And I, of course, didn't have much appetite because that's what happens to us, when we get meat aversion, palate fatigue. So I was already fasting without knowing I was fasting. And then I learned more deliberately how to do it through Jason Fung's group and the coaches there. And so I started implementing these things, and my numbers moved slightly. But some of the markers that I would use to monitor myself, swollen ankles. I forgot all about this, but I used to, the Die Hard movies. That's Victoria's favorite movie. The Die Hard movies. I would say in my mind, I'd be like, oh, this is so ironic since he himself has brain issues now, but I would say, who is the star of the Die Hard movies? Almost everybody can name that, if they've watched those movies and seen the visual. And if I could remember Bruce Willis, it was a good day. If I couldn't remember Bruce Willis, it was a bad day. Lots of cognitive dysfunction. So I monitor my cognitive, and I also would look at my ankles. Still to this day, I look at my ankles to see how I'm doing with my electrolytes in my body versus how I was doing with my kidney disease. So I asked my doctor, I said, I would like to not do any blood work for about a month and a half, or 2 months. And I said, I just want to try this out, what I'm doing. She never asked me what I was doing. I didn't tell her. And she said, okay, your numbers are moving in the right direction, so keep doing what you're doing and we'll see what happens. And never during that time did they ever say, let's talk about how to heal your kidneys. They don't talk to you about that, right? They don't say that. They wait until it's the next step, and then they prescribe you that next step. So I ate the ribeyes. I did the fasting. I rarely cheated. I think I had some chicken once in a while. Anyway, during that time frame, I did lose a little weight. Not a lot. And I started to feel a little better. It took 9 months for me to reverse my kidney disease. And at the end of that 9 months, my numbers had changed dramatically from the low 40s up to the high 80s for my glomerular filtration rate. My creatinine went completely out of the danger zone, and all my other numbers had improved as well. So I said to her, last appointment, I said, when do I have to do my blood work? When do I have to, when's my next appointment? She said, you can consider yourself normal now, just normal monitoring of your kidneys. And so when you do your normal blood work, we'll check it and see what's going on. And so I was like, yay, I win. Like, that's what I'm always that way. I'm like, oh, I win, So I came home. I came to this desk right here. The entire time that was going on, there was a small bag of gummy bears on my desk. And I never ate it because I was saving my life, right? And that day, I looked at it. I was like, oh, those gummy bears. Gummy bears don't expire, Mark. I don't know if you know that. But they are always good, no matter when you open them. And I decided I would eat them And I even said in my mind, should I eat these? And I was like, yeah, go ahead and eat them. And I put them in my mouth. I ate them. It took another 9 months. I gained back the small amount of weight I lost and 30 pounds more. And I remember it was actually July of that year. And I often talk about this. We don't really realize we're so fat or metabolically, like, we're buying bigger clothes, we're trying to hide, lumps and bumps here and there. But we don't really pay attention to it until we see a picture of ourselves or our doctor talks to us or whatever. And I was like, wow, 30 pounds over what it was back then. It really came back on. And looking back, it probably came back on because I was under eating. And I was shoveling the sugar in by that time, right? I went all the way back to my old habits. And I thought, oh, this is going to show up on my blood work. I completely jacked this up. No, big disappointment in myself. And so I decided I'm going to go full carnivore August. So August 1 of that year, I went full carnivore. And I basically was holding on with my fingernails the whole time. For three and a half months, I was in complete brain fog, misery, withdrawing from the sugar. I'd upped my game a little bit and learned how to cook meat better. I incorporated other meats. I never really cheated, but there were some pistachios like in the cabinet, and I would go eat some of those pistachios once in a while, and I wouldn't I wouldn't beat myself up. I would just go on and back to my meat and my fat. I started to learn more about carnivore diet, and I was lucky I stuck with it. But for about 5 months I had diarrhea, brain fog, withdrawal. And that's something you guys know. People always ask you, how long until my diarrhea goes away? How long till my brain fog? When do I get the energy that all the carnivores talk about? Well, for me, it was over 5 months. And so then at the 3-month mark, I went to Orange Theory, which is like a gym here. It's like a group coaching gym. And they have weights, treadmills, and rowers. And my legs were not strong. During my kidney disease, my leg muscles had atrophied a lot, and they never came back. And even, I had some septic shock during carnivore diet, and my legs atrophied at that time too. It's which is interesting because that's one of the markers, being able to have leg drive is a big marker for health. And so anyway, I was in this class, and mostly people who are in shape because it's kind of brutal. And I could not walk faster than 2 miles on the treadmill. I thought I might fall. I didn't feel like I had my balance. I physically couldn't go faster than that. So I just, hobbling along on the treadmill. And then I couldn't do a lunge. I couldn't step up on the bench. I had to hold on to the TRX. And, it's not like I was going in there and being a sexy, what. It was like back to, you're going to go in here and let all your fat jiggle in front of all these people because you're trying to change your life. So who cares what they think? And so I kept going back, and I eventually got stronger. And so then I was like, well, I want to go back and lift some weights. So I started lifting weights too on the other days. And I got addicted to that. So I got really addicted to lifting weights. And that's what I mean when I talk about the tools that we switch in and out, the alcohol, and then the food and sugar, and now the weightlifting. And that has that's continued for me because I've really come to understand that as soon as I feel some homeostasis or a level of happiness, for some reason, that's when I start to feel a little discomfort. And I'm starting to understand that more and more. But I really have come to understand how to tackle that with myself and my clients for food addiction. Because for me, I've really been intrigued by the whole line of thought that we have such a capacity for neuroplasticity where we can change our reactions to things if we just change the neural pathway. And I learned this because my daughter had obsessive compulsive disorder from a young age. And eventually I put her in a certain kind of therapy called exposure therapy. And in that therapy, I would sit there and I'd have to listen to the therapist talk her through these sessions where she would have to allow anxiety to rise up in her and sit with it. And she'd have to feel it, which is what I didn't put this together until years later, but that's exactly what I do. I don't sit with it. She didn't sit with it. And instead she would do a compulsion, thus the OCD. And for me too, I don't like that feeling. And so, as food addicts or, bingers, we avoid that feeling at all costs, that discomfort. And so we find some way to quell it. And oftentimes it's food. And so, my interest has been with people is to teach them how to sit with their anxiety and to allow themselves to feel it, and then to take their brain and switch it to a very casual response to that anxiety. So that the brain can see that you're feeling the anxiety and then say, all right, let's say your anxiety was over, that you didn't have enough, money to pay your bills, or a big bill coming up, any anxiety that would make you eat. And so then you might think, normally you might think, oh, I can't face this. This is awful. Here comes the Milky Way, here comes French fries, whatever. And so my love right now is teaching people to sit with that anxiety. And then instead of reaching for a food or another tool, what you want to do is you want to say, all right, maybe I won't be able to pay this bill. Maybe I will. I don't really know. I'm just going to go forward and see what happens. And people think, it's not that moment that you're going to feel your relief, right? It does bring a measure of relief, but really what you're doing is you're trying to retrain your brain and restructure your neural pathways so that your brain isn't asking you for what has always worked. For me, I took the shot of bourbon, I took the test, I aced it, I got happy. And my brain always saw that and it said, oh, this worked, Amy. This worked. And so the brain then is going to ask for, because we're animals, you think about a predator or prey in the wild, the brain will always go back to the most, the neural pathway that worked the best and you use the longest. And that's important, that worked the best and that you use the longest. And so that when it comes to fight or flight, which is what anxiety is when it rises up here, when it comes to fight or flight, then it's going to reach for what worked the best. And for me, that was Milky Way and Twizzlers or bourbon. And so it tells you, your brain does you a favor, and it tells the predator or prey, it tells Amy, hey, Amy, go get yourself this, because that's what brought your nervous system to homeostasis before. So go do that because you calmed down every time you do this. So it's such a disadvantage for us as metabolically unhealthy people because now your brain is calling the shots based on your past behavior. Once I realized that, I was like, this is something that you can change if you go through these exercises and you tell your brain, I'm not going to reach for that. In fact, I'm going to detach myself a little bit from this completely, and I'm going to act like a normal person's brain. A normal person's brain. I live in Colorado, so we have a lot of mountains. I don't like to mountain drive. It's scary. But when you're driving on the mountain, anybody will think, oh my gosh, I could drive right off the side. Okay, I could drive right off there aren't guardrails everywhere, right? Well, a normal person's brain, the thought will come in and it will go right back out, and then you'll go on with what other thought or conversation you're having. An obsessive brain will say, oh, good, I could drive over the side. I'm probably going to drive over the side. Then you start obsessing. You picture yourself driving over the side. You play it all out in your mind, and the anxiety is incredible. That's an obsessive brain. A lot of people who are bingers and addicts have that obsessive brain. And so when you use a casual statement or when you reframe the ending of that anxiety episode, it allows your brain to restructure the neural pathway. And that way you have a fighting chance that your brain isn't constantly leading you to booze, food, whatever you do to quell your anxieties. And so that's intriguing to me. And I try and any guinea pigs that let me practice it on them, I do it. I practice it on my whole group. Some of them love it, but it is something you have to do repeatedly as practice. And I find that if you end up having an episode where you fall off the wagon, that's a perfect time to practice. In our group, we talk about that eating should be an unemotional event. And so let's say that you're going along, you're doing great, and then you end up eating, one of your favorite things like pie or bread or something, and you binge for 3 days, whatever. And in order to really put this in play, you want to use that. Now it's an opportunity to practice your neuroplasticity reforming. And so you use those binges as an opportunity. I also advocate using safe cheats. So if somebody is very worried, like we have this whole abstainer moderator conversation. Well, I ask that person to pick something that's not their top of the line. So let's say top of the line is a Milky Way. I might ask them to pick something like a chocolate collagen drink or something like that. And I'll say, I want you to drink it. I want you to let the anxiety rise. I want you to concentrate on the anxiety that you have of being in a binge state and not being able to come back from it. And then I want you to use the steps and tell your brain that this is not a big deal. This is not a big deal, and this is not my survival mechanism. Eating this Milky Way, having this chocolate is not an anxiety solver for me. Sorry, brain. I'm not going to buy into that. And I have found for me and for other people that can really work. I'm not one of these people that is like, you're never going to fall off the wagon. I don't know a carnivore who was fat, who never fell off the wagon. Chafee, Baker, that's a different thing. But I'm mostly talking to women like me, fat middle-aged women who have always fallen off the wagon. We fall off the wagon. And so when I realized that, I was like, you know what? If that's the case, then let's practice falling off the wagon. Let's use some kind of safe cheat and figure out how it goes from one day or one meal instead of 1 month or 1 year or 10 years. I fully believe that just telling people, stay on course, I think people have to practice falling off course.
100%.
At least for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
yeah. That's my story.
Yeah, that's honestly, I mean, that's an amazing story. It really is. But like, I'm just going to finish off what you said at the end. Yeah, I believe the same thing. I believe everything starts from the mindset. I believe that, yeah, if you're going to be doing carnivore and you're going to be strict on yourself, if you want to do it that way, then do it that way. But I like to experiment with my clients as well. I like to say, okay, we're 6 months into the diet. I want you to go away and I want you to have that piece of chocolate. And then I want you to give me the feedback the next day. I don't want you to panic about it.
That's great.
I don't want you to feel guilty about it. I just want you to give me the feedback. Most of the feedback is like, I didn't feel good. I felt crap. So that's that box ticked. So I'm like, okay, that's that done. In a few months, we're gonna introduce vegetables. We're gonna introduce fruits. We're gonna do the exact same thing. I want you to give me the feedback. So what we're doing is we're actually learning along the way. So that means they're giving their bodies that information to say, okay, I don't need to panic about this anymore. I know why I don't need this in my life anymore. So you're re-educating the brain. And then what I usually do with clients as well is if someone wakes up in the morning, I'll say to somebody, if you say you're going to have a bad day, I want you to switch that mindset and tell yourself you're going to have a great day. You'll be amazed what that can do for you. Amazed. If you tell yourself that you're going to have a bad day and you have that negative energy, you will have a bad day. But if you flip that straight away and you give your body the right food, you go for a walk instead of just getting up in the morning and looking at your phone and looking at the TV, that you're starting your day with negative energy. So get up, get out into the sunshine, get the vitamin D into your eyes and start your day the right way. Because when I guarantee you, when you come back after that 20-minute walk, you're like, whoa, I feel so much better now. Like that negative energy that I had when I woke up out of bed, when I just jumped up out of bed and I had all that negative energy inside me, I've actually gotten rid of that within 5 minutes just going for a walk. So even though the food plays a big, big part, we know how important the food is. That mindset is important because when you feed the gut the right fuel, it's going to have an impact on the brain.
Yes.
And that's where everybody's failing. Everybody's failing because they have that anxiety, they're depressed, they have that lack of energy, and they don't know what's going on. They don't know why they're panicking around food. They don't understand, oh, I have to have this. I'm getting angry. It's like, I want you to calm down. Maybe we can sort this out if we just give the body the right fuel. We can get rid of that flight or flight moment. And when you're thinking about food all the time, maybe we can take a step away from that and actually re-educate yourself around food and say, you know what? I don't think I need to eat every 2 or 3 hours anymore now. I just need to eat basically when my body's hungry. So yeah, I completely agree with what you just said, 100%.
Yeah, I love that as well because when you're asking somebody to reintroduce something, it gives them the opportunity, like you said, to see how they feel.
Mm.
And when people end up falling off the wagon, if you don't ever fall off the wagon, you don't realize how good you feel on carnivore diet. You just don't.
Yeah. It's amazing because I think that the key word here is healing. When you said like it took you 5 months, I don't think people fully understand what healing is because I was the same. I had a massive sugar addiction like you, Amy, and it took me 6 months to get over. I never heard the keto flu. All these withdrawal symptoms that I had, I could never, like you put food in front of me, sugar, I would eat it, no problems. And I could never understand. And the last thing that went in that 6 months was the vegetables. I was convinced that no matter what, I could get away with eating vegetables and fruits. Convinced. And when I realized that, listen, hang on a second, sugar is sugar. No matter where you're getting it from, it's going to impact the body the exact same way, regardless where you get it from. And as I said, for 6 months. And you see that an awful lot with people at the moment. I'm sure you see that with clients. People are convinced that it's going to happen overnight. But people don't
Yeah.
realize that the damage that you've done over like say if you let's say you're a middle-aged woman, you're in your 50s or 40s. Like if you've done a lot of damage in 20 years, you've got to
Yeah.
you've got to be realistic. It's not going to happen in a month. It's not going to happen in 2 months. You're probably looking at a minimum 6 months of healing, minimum.
I agree. And I'm so glad that you tell your clients that, because we do want it to be, overnight. And I mean, even now, I've had all these events happen to me since I became carnivore, and going out into the world and interacting with other people, being mostly an introvert for most of my life. I find that, you can transfer your addictive mentality to almost anything. And for me, there's something we like to embrace. It is very familiar to be miserable, and it's very familiar to stay in a place where you're not thriving. And familiarity is a big deal. Like if you know how you're going to react, like you choose to be sad or dismissive or reclusive, go inside yourself. That's familiar. You put yourself out there in any manner, like choosing to coach with somebody, like going to a coach like you and being coached. All these things take you completely out of your familiar comfort zone. And so it's almost painful. I mean, it really is painful to change how you've always responded and how you've always received any situation presented to you. It is a painful process, because literally you're ripping away part of who you are, the essence of you. And so that is, even if it's something that's not a great attribute that you had, it's still painful to take a part of yourself away and say, this no longer serves me. Those are friends to us, Food used for anxiety, and other things, those are friends to us, even if they were hurting us. And so, being able to change your mindset, like you said, and say, I'm going to choose to have a good day. I'm going to choose to want to live. I'm going to choose to pursue my health. That's really an act of bravery.
And I think it's important because I do this an awful lot with people as well. I need to make people aware of this at the very, very beginning. Because I don't know about you, Amy, but when I take somebody on, you can see the anxiety, you can see they're panicking, you can see that they just want to lose the weight. And I'm like, okay, well, hang on a second. The reason why you came to me is you need help. We're going to do this the right way. But I notice as I work with these people on a week-to-week basis, that relationship gets a lot better. Whereas at the very, very beginning, it's the anxiety, they're panicking, they're like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. And then like 6 weeks into it, it's like the conversation is just nice and relaxed.
Yes. Yeah,
Just
I
nice and
really
relaxed.
can relate with, because you're probably like me and you do all your coaching on Zoom. And with the group, it's just like you can see people who came into Carnivore as newbies, and they have such anxiety about doing everything correctly, and which pundit, doctor, influencer to listen to, how to approach things, whether to fast, not to fast, eat a stick of butter, don't eat a stick of butter, whatever. And that whole process of trial and error is a valuable time, because you can go back to things that worked, but you can't really skip that part of nervousness. And it is so beautiful when somebody has relaxed into the carnivore diet and relaxed into, like, they feel better, they look better. Yeah, I really love that, actually. I don't think about that very often, but I love that too.
Yeah, no,
Well,
sorry, Victoria, go ahead.
I would like to ask Amy to tell us some more about her support group for carnivores called Beyond the Bite.
Thanks,
I've been in
Victoria.
I've been in on a few of those sessions, and I know there's a tremendous amount of emotional support going on there. It's really amazing, and it's consistently very positive and informative. And I've even learned from you something today about dealing with that anxiety, and I appreciate that. So if you would give us a little overview of Beyond the Bite and what you're doing there.
Thanks, Victoria. So, my partner Dennis Ford and I started it, and I used to coach for Steak and Butter Gang, and left there, and there were a lot of people reaching out to us, and so we were like, okay, we'll try doing something, and we had a lot of support. I mean, the value of the group are the members. And basically what we do is we have various coaches. We've got a coach that's a doctor of physical therapy. She is also a lipedema specialist, and she's very science oriented. So she kind of handles all that kind of stuff. We also have Coach Brett, who was Dr. Baker's, he handled his mental health meetings, and he does mental health meetings. He's called Meet and Mental Health. We have Coach Sally Bowers, who specialty, she reversed her autoimmune, and she's also a sugar addict. She specializes in, right now, she helps people reverse their A1Cs. And people really like her program. And we have Coach Ayana. And Coach Ayana is animal-based. And a former bikini model, and also a biohacker. And so we learn a lot from her. She's outside the carnivore paradigm, which I love because I love controversy. And and then we've had other people. We've got a lady that comes in and does meditation with the group. Donna, Coach Donna, and other people. We're bringing some other people on, a couple, 2 pharmacists. We're going to start streaming their regular meetings, and Dr. Anna. We now have just brought on Dr. Anna Rosa, who's a radiologist and specializes in grief, recovering from grief. And so she is now on our team as well. So all these people have come to us organically, much like I met you two, the way I met you two. And it has turned into this place where people come in and share transparently. And I know many groups are this way. People feel free to share. But we really we really are transparent. We talk about things like falling off the wagon. We talk about the entire carnivore verse, everything that's going on, all the trends. And it's a very non-dogmatic place. I'm very thankful. It has healed me. And of course, it's also a place where I get to try things out. And he calls himself my sidekick, but Dennis Ford, I mean, we sit there and we talk to people, and we laugh. We do a lot of laughing. And we talk about, our favorite, what's the latest from Ben Bickman, what's going on with the sugar diet, what's going on with GLP-1s. And we talk about it, and everybody says exactly what they think, and nobody judges each other. And it's pretty amazing. And I can't take credit for it. It really is the type of people that have come in there. And we're all metabolically healing in there. So it's nice because we share tips and tricks. But thank you for your kind words on that, Victoria. I'm really enjoying it.
Well, it's a great group. It really is. And anytime I tune in, I'm always glad I did.
Thanks, Victoria. Yeah, I can't let you guys go without talking a little bit about the GLP-1s.
Oh yeah.
Because
100%.
you're two of my favorites about the
Mhm.
GLP-1s.
Well, I wanted to bring this up, Amy, because I sent you a message there. I think it was around 6 or 7 weeks ago. You had an interview with Dr. Niagara, and
Yeah.
I've actually wanted to reach out to this guy a few times, and he's blocked me a few times. And when I saw you have this argument and this debate with him, I was like, go Amy, this is amazing,
Mhm.
because I've had this conversation with like numerous people in this country, and they're absolutely convinced. I was on a podcast there about a month ago. This lady has 250,000 followers, and she's convinced that the GLP-1s are going to save a lot of people. And I got on this podcast, and I ripped her apart. I was like, listen, this needs to stop. We shouldn't even be doing this in microdosing. Simple. I said,
Yeah.
listen, you need to understand what hormones do. You need to understand the role of insulin, leptin, cortisol. If you guys don't know this, then we're in serious trouble. And this
Yeah.
is I have the biggest, like you, this is the biggest frustration I have in my country, because every second person is taking it. And I was only watching the news this morning. They're giving 11-year-olds in England this
Yes.
injection, guys.
Oh gosh.
11 years old.
Yeah.
And they're saying
That's the youngest it's approved for, I think, which
yeah,
is
they're saying that there's nothing else we can do, and I'm like, this is crazy. This is
if
Yeah,
absolutely
they're
yeah.
crazy.
pushing for younger kids to have it too.
And
And
I was just gonna say, I heard Ken Berry talk about this about a month ago as well. They're trying to look at like 6-year-olds now.
so in the US, I remember when and this must have been maybe 3 years ago, um that I don't know what she was, maybe the director of Health and Human Services. She was talking about that it's not our fault that we are fat, that it's genetic, yada yada yada. And I thought, in my mind, since I'm a skeptic, and I love to dabble in a little conspiracy theory myself. And so I thought, all right, she's setting something up. What is she setting up? Something's being set up here, so that people don't realize, if it's not something that you have gotten yourself into that situation. I mean, I definitely, regardless of being helpless to my brain signals, it's me that got myself here, right? So I can get myself out. That's the power of that. But if you believe that it's an external force, like your genetics or your environment acting on you, and you have no self-will, then you also give all your power away. And what a
Exactly.
great time for something like a GLP-1 to come in,
Mm.
because if it's not your fault, then you might as well use this, because if it's not your fault, then nothing you're going to do is going to help it.
Mm.
And so I have to admit, I mean, I know that people are getting injured. There have been deaths, but I am fascinated by the whole thing. And looking at how the carnivore community has responded to me, when I didn't even really know what it was. I didn't really know what it was, and a couple clients said to me, they said, "Hey, did you see this commentary on GLP-1 from Dr. Boz, Dr. Tina, who have both since come out and said they don't advocate using GLP-1 for weight loss." And all these carnivores, namely some coaches, said, "Hey, this is great. I already know some people using this. They're getting good results. My husband's using it, and to me, that was shocking, because carnivore diet is a safe haven from big food, big pharma. It is a place where we eschew anything like that. And so for that to have come all the way to my clients strongly enough that they said to me, I wonder if this would be good for me, I was shocked, and it really woke me up. And around that time, that's when big carnivore coaches were coming out and saying, I advocate for this for whom it's, I mean, they're not putting everybody on it, but they added it to their handbooks. They've got discount codes, and every part of my body is screaming red flag, because that is, carnivore diet is supposed to help you leave that mentality that we can take a pill or inject something.
Yes.
And yeah, and so I'm still way fascinated. There's a lot of people a little bit angry at me. I'm not going to stop talking about it because I truly believe it's dangerous. And I am fascinated, like you were saying, in your country, Mark, I'm fascinated by the herd mentality on it, which we've seen herd mentality before in
Oh,
the
yeah.
world. And there is kind of like I'm going to put my blinders on now and I'm going to do this. And I've never been the type of person that was able to put the blinders on even when I wanted to. To me, it's an outrage that there's so much support for GLP-1s in carnivore community, because I always thought of carnivore community as the outlier, the rebellion, everything. All the things good movies are made out of. And for it to get watered down to the extent that we think it's okay, I feel like people should speak out against that. And it should never be okay. If you want to go on a GLP-1 and you're a carnivore, great. You can go to your doctor. You can talk to your doctor about GLP-1. But if you're a carnivore coach and you're putting it in your handbook, it's not just the seasoned carnivore that's going to try it out. It's the vulnerable person. I was the vulnerable person when I started carnivore diet. And if I had used a GLP-1 or it had been presented to me in somebody's handbook, I would absolutely have used it. I would absolutely have said, oh, sure, Kelly Hogan is telling me that this is okay and it's a good thing. Well, guess what? I want to be Kelly Hogan. I want to be a sexy, just like Kelly Hogan. I'm going to try this out. Even though she doesn't use it and she didn't get to her healthy state with a GLP-1.
Exactly.
And so we rob that new carnivore of the experience of the carnivore diet.
Yes.
It's the same with the sugar diet, Amy. You look at Mark Bell. Mark Bell is ripped. He's ripped to shreds, but he's basically, he's lying to the public. I mean, this guy is taking TRT. He's on steroids. It's like, if I can look like this, you can look like this. But like you, I think people need to understand this. This is the whole point of this having this conversation, because Amy specializes in sugar addiction and food addiction, and so do I. This is what's going on in the world at the moment. We're focusing on the wrong problem, because when you look at the GLP-1s, most people that go on these, they struggle with food addiction. They struggle with food noise. When you ask these people, okay, why are you taking these injections? They're like, I've tried everything else. I can't lose the weight. I don't understand what insulin resistance is. I can't understand why I'm craving food. I can't understand why I'm eating on a regular basis. And all you have to do is look at it and say, well, these injections do the exact same thing what the carnivore diet does. It shuts off the hunger. It increases the leptin levels, it brings your insulin levels down, and it controls your cortisol. It controls your stress levels. So I'm like, hang on a second. Do we really need this? Do we really need to inject ourselves every day and have the side effects? Can we not do this by eating, say, 12 eggs a day? Like having a ribeye every day. It's gonna be the exact same thing. You're gonna feel better. You're gonna be healthier. You're gonna maintain muscle mass. This is the most important thing. I always say this to women, that the one thing you need to hold on to when you get older is muscle. Muscle has a direct impact on hunger. You lose muscle, and that's when your hunger is going to go straight through the roof. Now you need to look at it like this as well. When people go on these diets, these low calorie diets, guess what they do? They do all these cardio sessions. They do the spinning, circuits. Guess what that does to your hunger? That ramps up your hunger. So you're making it even worse. You're making the situation even worse. Honestly, it infuriates me when I see these people take these injections and they're been told the food that you're eating, don't change it, just keep doing it. You can still have your alcohol, you can still eat your crap in moderation. It drives me crazy.
They learn nothing.
Yeah, and then when I come along and explain this to people, and I do about a half an hour talk on this, people look at me as if I'm the crazy one. I'm like, have you
Yes.
not listened to what I'm saying for the last half an hour? We can
Yes.
do this without these extreme measures. Without these extreme measures, it's just
Mhm.
it's mind-boggling.
Yeah,
It's mind-boggling.
and learn something along the way and
Yeah,
change our lives.
yeah,
Yes.
The quick fix, we will be vindicated in this ultimately, but only at the expense of a lot of health of a lot of people. It's going to
100%.
be very sad, and it'll go the way of fen-phen, which was a big diet fad about 20 years ago. It's just it may have to just play itself out.
I
And I
don't.
think it's very sad that carnivore influencers might, like Kelly, have promoted it, even in microdosing.
Yeah, we need to
I
move away.
agree.
We need to move away from this that obesity is a disease. I mean, we need to move away from that. It's genetics. Yeah, genetics might have a small part, but at the end of the day, you put the food into your body. Nobody forces you to do that. Everybody in the
Yeah.
world has to eat. So why are we not focusing on this?
Right.
Why are we not
Yep.
focusing on the food
Techniques.
that you eat?
Yep.
100%. 100%.
And the real tragedy too is once somebody starts, I mean, if you are eating steak and eggs and bacon, um, you know, there's never a time where somebody says, "Hey, listen, you start in with that steak and eggs and you go off of it, everything's going to come back." Okay? Nobody thinks in those terms. That's true, of course. But nobody thinks in those terms because you can go buy your steak and eggs on sale and it doesn't cause gut paralysis, blindness, pancreas issues, none of these things. You go on this injectable, um, and you stop. You've already lost a whole bunch of lean body mass.
Mm-hmm.
And when you gain it back, you're not gaining back some of the lean body mass, you're gaining back fat. And so, as women, like you said earlier, women really need their muscle. And you got to get it any way that you can as you age. That is probably maybe the one of the most important things for longevity as an older lady. And so we're now putting these women in these situations. Yeah, they might be skinny, what's now, but what happens in 10, 15 years when they've got osteopenia,
Yes,
osteoporosis,
I was going to say
and
that
Yeah,
osteoporosis. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's
Sorry.
terrible. And so I've asked these coaches, I've said, are you worried that someone will get hurt? Are you carrying liability insurance?
Mm,
And what happens when people go off? Those are the three questions I've really settled down into.
mm,
And the answers are microdosing is safe. No, I don't carry insurance. They're getting it from a telehealth provider. And number three, if they go off, it's all going to come back. They fully admit food noise, weight, everything will come back, all symptoms. And then at that point, they say to me, people can stay on a maintenance dose. Like that's a plausible solution. And so that's what I don't like. You don't stay in a maintenance dose of steak and eggs. Okay? You reform, transform your entire life. A GLP-1 is the only thing that's going to have a maintenance dose, not lifestyle transformation. Doesn't have a maintenance dose. It has a long-term effect. And so that's what makes me sad is that there will be people, like you said, Victoria, so many people will experience the fallout of this. And I don't fault those individuals. I really don't. I was that individual.
mm.
I don't fault individuals. I fault those of us who know better. And that is my real beef. Oh, that's my real beef. That's my real beef is that people who are in the know and know the beauty and the relief of carnivore diet, how dare you tell somebody to use this quick fix when you yourself did not get there that way? You're
Yeah,
robbing that person of that experience.
Yeah.
If you're
exactly.
long-term carnivore, then you can make your own decision. There are a lot of long-term carnivores that message me angry. You know what? You already know what's right for you. Go ahead and do it. If I'm a new carnivore and I hear these experienced coaches talking about it, that's the person I'm worried about. Long-term carnivore, that's fine. New carnivore, that person's in a state of vulnerability, and
Yeah.
even though you're not meaning to do it as a coach, you're actually preying on that vulnerability.
Yes,
And
100%.
you're putting them in a financial and a health crisis at that point. It's expensive, and it can really damage them.
100%. I mean, we did an interview with a lady called Krista. This lady's story is remarkable, absolutely remarkable. This lady struggled with her weight for such a long time. She was a type 2 diabetic, and she's a cancer patient. She went to see her doctor and said, "Listen, I can't lose the weight." The doctor put her on Ozempic. I think he had her on 0.25 milligrams or something like that. I think it was. She
Oh,
went up.
diabetic.
Yeah, that have you heard her
Yes,
story
that's
on?
Krista.
Oh my God, her story is incredible. Absolutely, her
Yeah.
story makes me really, really angry when I
And her
heard her
heart
story.
stopped. Her
Yeah,
heart
her heart
stopped.
stopped. She was
Yeah.
told she was blind. She went blind the next
She
day.
lost her vision.
She
Yes.
lost her vision, and then these people had the audacity to blame her. To this day,
Right.
Yes.
to this day,
They told her that she did it wrong.
to this day, they're still saying that you are at fault here. And I told Krista, I said, listen, there's no point in you suing these people because you won't stand a chance because of these organizations, because it's worth billions. These people are going to back this nurse up. This nurse has been told that she's fantastic at her job. She has certificates all over the hospital. I'm like, this woman nearly killed you. Like, it's incredible. It's incredible how we're putting our faith in these people, and then when it goes wrong, they blame you. It's like, really,
yeah.
It's insane.
The nurses are using it. You know, the
nurses
are using
it.
Yeah, it's scary, and I'm really grateful for people like you and Mark, Victoria, because there aren't a lot of people who are this vitriolic about it. I am definitely vitriolic about it because I am so I'm so taken aback by it, and I really enjoy talking to other people who feel strongly about it, because there aren't that many people who will be this. I mean, Dr. Baker has come out and said some things about it. I like his hardline attitude on it. And there have been some other people, but carnivore community has turned into kind of a sorority of sorts. And you know, you got to wear the right clothes, go to the right meetups, say the right things, and eat the right stick of butter, and then you're looking good, and you can, you know, be in the on the camera for the meetup. Well, I feel like carnivore diet is more of a refuge for those of us who usually don't feel comfortable in those situations. And so there are all these other people who aren't movers and shakers in the carnivore world, and they're the ones that need our help. And so this GLP-1 and then this kind of like carnivore royalty type feel to carnivore community now, it's hard for me to watch it. And maybe because I'm kind of a jerk and a little bit of a prude, but I just hate it. I hate it. Everything about it to me is just sensational, commercialized. You know, here's your discount code. I just hate it because, and I do believe that will die out. I do believe it'll go back and, you know, it'll become something else. I
think it will die out the more we keep on speaking about it, Amy. But I'm not, like, when you look at me, like, I've met Victoria, knows me because she's met me in real person. I'm not this aggressive person that you see on my videos. The only reason I do this, I'm kind of like Barkay. I do this as an act. I do these because I'm really passionate about this. When I speak about these videos, I get really annoyed because of this, because I see so many people in the world that are suffering. And I believe that if I don't do this, then people are not listening, because everybody's trying to push against me. Everybody's just saying, like, listen, don't listen to this guy. This guy is full of crap. What he's saying is rubbish. I can't sit back and take that anymore. I can't, because I've seen so many people suffer. And I always said when two loved ones of mine passed away a year ago of cancer, I said to myself, I am never going to let anybody go through that ever again. When I saw these people, I was told back in November 2023 that these people only had 6 months to live. And for 6 months, I literally watched these people deteriorate in front of my eyes. And I had these regular conversations with the doctor because I knew a little bit about carnivore. I knew exactly what I was talking about. And I had mentioned this to the doctor. Do you know anything about cholesterol? And he was like, yeah, there's good and bad cholesterol. The minute he said that to me, I was like, okay, we're in trouble. We're in serious trouble here. Then I mentioned LDL. He didn't even know what it meant. And I was like, hang on. And then when I saw what he was giving these two, now these people were my mother-in-law and father-in-law. So these people are not here anymore. And to this day, Amy, it hurts me. It really, really hurts me because these people were only in their 70s. And I look back at it and I said, you know what? I should have done a lot more for these people. I should have fought a lot more for these people. And that's why I do it now. That's why when I do these videos, I'm fighting for these people. I'm like, listen, if you're not going to listen to me, I'm going to make you listen to me because I have to. I don't want to see you in the hands of these people. I don't want to see you inject yourself for the rest of your life. I don't want to see you on metformin to control your diabetes. I don't want to see you on antidepressants to control your mental health issues. So if I have to come across a little bit aggressive, then so be it. Because at the end of the day, if my video just saves one person, just one person, and it changes their mindset on this whole thing, then my job is done.
I love that. I love the defiance of it because a lot of people who choose to come to carnivore diet at all are defiant. I mean, they're fed up, and so luckily a lot of people have rejected modern medicine, which you should go to the doctor if you need to. Modern medicine, but they question things, and so for carnivore diet to fall in with that mentality, is I mean, that's the spirit. What you're talking about is the spirit of carnivore diet, saying, hey, question, research, experiment. And for the outside world to tell us that we're wrong, we're used to that. But for carnivore community to come in and question it, it's kind of like, don't tell me I can't have an opinion just because it doesn't align with yours. I can have an opinion. I'm not carnivore royalty, but I saved my life. People are saving their lives. And this is way more, this is a lot bigger than, you know, being a famous person. This is about people who are dying, like your mother and father-in-law. And so the focus for me has to remain on the people like that, on the people who have found this out of defiance, and we should honor that defiance and not say, oh yeah, you're in here, but I'm going to put you on a pharmaceutical. I mean, you didn't have to come to carnivore diet to be on the pharmaceutical.
Exactly. My mother always told me when I was younger, pick a job that you could do for the rest of your life. If it was like, say, you could do it for nothing. And I could easily do this job for the rest of my life and do it for nothing. I live in a country now where it's anti-keto. It's anti-carnivore. That's the reason why I don't have it on my profile as carnivore mark. Because if I had carnivore mark on my profile, a lot of people would scroll past it and be like, listen, this guy's crazy. Whereas I like to bring people in and educate them. So I'm gonna say, okay, I'm not gonna go strict carnivore. I like to do it in phases. So the first phase, like, okay, we're eliminating the processed foods. Then they're giving me the information. They're like, I'm still not feeling good. I'm like, okay, well, what about we eliminate the carbohydrates? Okay, everything's going really well. Then like 4 months, 5 months, they trust me. So that then when they're saying like, okay, I'm still struggling with my gut issues, I could say to these people, because they've worked with me for 5 months, they trust me, what about we just eliminate the vegetables? All of a sudden, everything improves. It massively improves. Whereas if I just say to these people at the very, very beginning, this is going to be an elimination diet. You're gonna cancel this, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this.
Scary.
And that's where you mentioned at the very, very beginning, Amy, about the anxiety. That's why you don't want to be in that situation. When I take on clients, you can clearly see at the very, very beginning, these people are anxious. They just want to lose the weight. They're depressed, and It's like, okay, well, before we get to that stage, we need to heal you first. We need to make you a little bit more calmer, a little bit more relaxed. You know, I mean, everything's just working perfectly. And that's where we're going wrong, because we're focusing on the wrong problem. Everybody just wants to focus on weight loss. Everybody can lose weight on any diet that you want. You just look at the sugar diet. Everybody's saying that you can lose weight on the sugar diet. Of course you can. Of course you can lose weight on the sugar diet. But I can guarantee you this, it's going to catch up on you. When in the next
Yeah.
5-10 years, this is going to catch up on you. You're going to have fatty liver disease. You're probably going to have a heart attack. Everybody's going to blame on a high fat diet, even though we're all on a low fat diet, which is just insane. Everybody keeps on blaming on red meat, but nobody's ever heard of the Randall cycle. Nobody's ever heard, okay, if you're eating that burger, what else are you having it with? So there's so much information out there that we need to be giving people. And that's where we're going wrong, because everybody's just focusing on calorie deficit, low fat, keep your cholesterol low, go and see your doctor, be put on a statin. And this is where we're going wrong.
Yeah. And even sugar diet, Coach Ayana, she did my coach is a former bodybuilder. She did sugar diet with fruit for a short period of time as a biohack and an experiment. And just recently, Kelly Hogan, Jenny Mittich, Courtney Luna, and my favorite Serena tried the sugar diet. And so people started talking about it in group. And Coach Ayana said something very interesting. She said, listen, if these people, because these people had some of them, had reached out and asked her questions. And she said, if I'd known that they were asking because they were going to try it, I would have told them not to do it. Because Ayana's not a disordered eater. She's not one of us in the sense that she completely falls off. She has really, her mild inclinations to assuage her stress with food. She has kind of mastered that over her life. I'm still a disordered eater. I'll always be a disordered eater. Carnivore diet helps me manage that. And I believe that those people in that group are the same. They're as bad as I am. And so she said, I would have told them not to do it. It's a danger zone for them. And I thought that was brilliant, because you can biohack. Like I can't, I will have other things, once in a while I'll have some sushi with rice on it, things like that. But I can't have a piece of cake, for example, ever. Like cake is like my, that's like at the top of the pyramid for me. And so I understand that about myself. And so sugar diet would be a danger zone for me. And so that they did this and tried it out, that's amazing to me. And people in carnivore diet aren't really doing the sugar diet, which is really just a short-term thing, but it's something else that we exploit in the community to keep ourselves relevant. And it's almost like, hey, I'm going to come out, I'm going to say, we tried the sugar diet and the sugar diet stinks. Well, guess what? We all knew it stunk before you tried it. If you're a disordered eater, the sugar diet is not for you. If you're trying to heal yourself metabolically, the sugar diet is not for you. It is for people who are normies, who can eat, a few things and not eat the entire bag and then go get more of something else. That is carnivore community. And so it's for me, it's just, I really love the fire and the authenticity that comes out of what you're saying, because that's real. That's truly inspiring for people who are trying to learn. And so that's what I enjoy. I love that. I love that you approach things that way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I just think that people need to understand this, that when it comes to the sugar diet or anything, like say if you're on these low calorie diets and you still have sugar in the plan, the problem is this: you are going to get in shape, but it's never going to be sustainable. That's the first thing, because you have sugar in the blood, and it's very, very hard to maintain your weight when you have too much sugar in the blood. That's the first point. The second point is your health. So when it comes to the sugar diet, you guys, you're only jeopardizing your health. Just because you look amazing on the outside, you have a six pack, that doesn't mean that you're healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's what we need
yeah.
to be focusing on.
And Coach Diana had done it with fruit, and she did it for a short period of time. Apparently, when these women did this, they used candy,
Mm.
and man, that me, I already know what happens to me. And so even if it's short term, you never know if you're going to eat the sugar and you're not going to come back. And I haven't watched the video yet, but a lot of people have talked to me about it, and they really felt for the women in the video and their experiences, which I think is good for people to see their experiences, that all the struggle they've had. Courtney Luna, all the struggles she's had after she reintroduced some things, and now is struggling to get back on track.
Yeah.
That's what happens to us. And when you have, like you said, the sugar in the blood, it affects everything.
Yeah.
And it lights up all of our old survival mechanisms that we used when we were disordered eaters. And now you gotta re-push those out so you can bring back in your carnivore reactions to food. And that's difficult to do.
And not only that, but I have experimented on myself over the years. Like I'm carnivore nearly 4 years now, and during that time I have experimented on the foods that I used to eat, like the likes of the berries, the bananas, and stuff like that. And when I ate one of these foods, because I was so deeply fat adapted, I could feel the impact on these foods straight away. Whereas before, my body was so used to eating sugar, I couldn't feel the benefits. Like, for example, I used to have like soda drinks. I used to drink 3 a day and had no issues on my body whatsoever. I introduced a soda drink about 2 years ago. I only had like a few sups of it. The next day, my mental health was on the floor.
Yeah.
I felt horrendous. I felt it. And not only that, I was walking outside and I had this aggressive feeling. I just wanted to start a fight with somebody. I could feel the aggressiveness. And I was like, holy, this is not good. This is not good. And I could feel it. And then I remember I had a banana one day, and my God, my cravings went straight through the roof. Straight through the roof. And then I also did an experiment on myself where I had a piece of steak. I think I had about 400 grams. So I don't know what it is in pounds, but I had about 400 grams. It was a big steak, and I struggled to finish it. I think I got halfway through it. The next day, I did the exact same steak, but I had white mashed potato with it, and I ate the two of them. at the same time. I finished that steak within 15 minutes. 15 minutes, it was
Highly
gone.
palatable.
Yeah, gone.
Highly
Finished.
palatable.
And after I was finished, I was craving more food.
Yep.
That just goes to prove it. Simple.
Yep. I
That's the
can't
way it
even
is.
do a safe cheat. I've tried the safe cheats. My husband's a good one for the occasional protein bar that's a keto bar, or ice cream that doesn't have sugar added, that kind of thing. The Rebel ice cream, which actually is a sweetener. I can't even have those without having repercussions. I'll start craving. It really sets me off. I know
Yeah.
my limitations, but even safe cheats for me are scary.
I've gotten addicted to various things during carnivore diet. Like in Colorado, there was a gelatin thing that a guy made that had stevia in it called Chewy Puck or Power Pucks. And the Power Pucks were made of tallow and like cacao. And the Chewy Pucks were made of gelatin, whey protein, and stevia. And anyway, I ate those like crazy. And and actually I think it helped me grow my hair back. But now, if I were to eat that, like I think I had a leftover bag of it and I tasted it like a whole year after I stopped eating them. It tasted terrible to me. So I mean, we go through an evolution as a person who completely changed your taste buds. You go through such an evolution, and you start to know what really lights you up. You know, to know what really lights you up and what is a danger. Prime Protein had some bars, some kind of protein bar, long time ago. These chocolate protein bars, and they weren't even that great. But and they don't have them anymore. But anyway, I bought a box of them, and it took me 3 days, and I ate all 12. And it really exemplified to me that kind of like what these women discovered eating candy on the sugar diet that are carnivore, that it's all still there. All the mechanisms.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I take it seriously. And so I identify it when it happens, and then I use, now I use my steps so that I can preserve my neural pathway to not be freaking out, make me freak out and reach for something in the future, the next episode. But yeah, if I eat something, and I'm not one to, I haven't had a Twizzler since I, like that's like a bugaboo of mine. Twizzlers. There are certain things that I just can't eat. Gary Taubes, Good Calories, Bad Calories. He's not so much in vogue anymore, but I was really intrigued by once I heard him say, and he's very, like Mark, total advocate for staying on the meat and fat. He said that he had discovered if you're relaxed, you can eat almost anything and digest it correctly. And I think there's something to that. And when we eat these foods that are not biologically meant for our bodies to have, eating it in and of itself is creating an anxious environment. And so, but there are people who can eat some other things and then discover it makes them feel bad. Not that it causes cravings. Some people, they just realize, oh, I don't feel great now. Like Mark was saying, I don't feel great now. And that's a valuable lesson. So if somebody falls off, don't beat yourself up, because you're going to learn something from it, just like the diets, or just like the soda and the banana and all that. You're going to learn something from it. And I say focus on that, what you learned from it, how you acted, how you felt, what did your digestion do. That will help you so much. It will make you stay away from that food for sure.
I think it's very, very important. I really do. I think that's the key to longevity. I think the key to longevity is to learn from what's happening to your body. And this is why you should have a diary. Okay, to learn from this. Okay, I've added the fruit in, but the next day I didn't feel good. Okay, box ticked. I'm never going through that again. Same with dark chocolate. Like I used to be hooked on dark chocolate, but then when I read the label and I read the ingredients, like these have seed oils in them. So I'm like, oh my God, no wonder I was feeling like crap. Even though it says 100% dark chocolate on it, I'm like, okay, well, this is not good. So I have experimented so many times, and I think it's absolutely essential people do this. I don't think you can stick to carnivore for the rest of your life without experiment, because you are going to have nobody's perfect. You will have these days where you're going to be like, you know what, maybe I can get away with eating a little bit of fruit. Maybe I can, because there are people out there that are metabolically flexible. There's a lot of people out there that can get away with eating about 20, 30 grams of carbohydrates a day. I can't. I can't put something like a small treat on a table and just eat that. I'm going to eat the rest of them. So I'll never be one of those. I'll never be one of those people that can just have this in moderation, because it's like you said, it sets me off big time.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not a moderator either. No, can't do it. It's got to be abstention.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if it's a certain kind of food, I definitely won't have it. I've had some sushi with the rice. That doesn't really set me off. But for me, a bowl of strawberries can lead to a Milky Way. So I'm aware of that, and that's what people need to know. Nobody got through carnivore diet never having something besides meat and fat. These things happen. And so it's good to talk about them and to be honest and know everybody has been through this. And it helps you. It helps you build your toolbox for how to deal with social situations and temptations. I think.
Yeah. Well, Amy, I want to be respectful of your time because we've done over an hour and a half here. But if anybody's listening to this right now and they're thinking about doing the carnivore diet, what advice would you give these people?
So if you haven't started a carnivore diet, my advice to you, if you're thinking about it, I would try to hone in on why you're doing it, first of all, why you want to do it. And then after you choose somebody to follow, a book, Coach with Mark, Victoria, a pundit, an influencer, a doctor, throw your why out. It's not going to keep you carnivore. What keeps you carnivore is eating the food. It will transform your brain, it'll transform your body, and you'll feel better. Your why will not keep you carnivore. It's a great thing to get you started and as a reminder down the road, but your cravings and all of the habits you formed over a lifetime are stronger than your why for very many people. So eat the food. Don't try to feel motivated. Just put the food in your mouth. Keep putting the food in your mouth, and eventually that's what your body will crave.
Amazing, amazing. And where can people go to find
Good
you, Amy?
advice.
Probably easiest is Carnivore Amy on Instagram if you just type in Carnivore Amy. And that'll have
and your Facebook groups?
It's also Carnivore Amy, and then our group is called Beyond the Bite on Mighty Networks, and my partner is DT Ford, Dennis Ford. You can also find the group on his Instagram as well, DT Ford.
Well, it was
DT Carnivore.
Well, it was an absolute
We'll put that
pleasure,
below,
Amy. Yeah, we'll
below the
definitely put
show.
that below. And honestly, it was
Thank
amazing.
you.
It was amazing having you on. I've had the pleasure of coming onto your podcast.
Yes.
I've learned an awful lot from you today. Your story is absolutely incredible. I'm hoping that
Yes.
this reaches at least one person. If it does, then we've done our job correctly. So all I can say to you is thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you
Yes.
both.
Thank
You
you for
both
your
know
time.
how much I adore you, Victoria and Mark. I just adore you. So I'm always
Love you
cheering you
back
on, and
here.
I'm appreciative that you had me on. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for
Thank
coming
you
on.
so much. It's been tremendous. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye now.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.